All right, welcome back to another episode of ADHD Rewired. This is the Coaches Roundtable edition. So, what that means is I'm joined by Coach Brian and Coach Kristen, and we are going to just be having conversations about kind of what's happening this week in our coaching program. And one of the other things is I'm probably not going to do much editing here. I think I mentioned in the last two things that we sent out on the podcast feed is that episodes are going to be possibly a little intermittent, not doing regular episodes every week, but we're going to try to do these every week unedited and get them out because I think these are really good conversations. The other thing, for those who don't love the hour-long versions of this podcast, we're going to try to keep these to 15 to 20 minutes. So wish us luck. So here we go. All right. So we got Kristen, we got Brian, and it's me, and we started a group this week. So let's dive in. How's it going?
It's going great. It was a bumpy start, but I'm really happy. My group is kind of coming together, and I really am seeing people's personalities come out after just after a couple of meetings, and really just always a great group of folks. One reason that I love doing this work is that I get to be in a room with you know 8, 10, 12 other ADHD folks who are interesting, fabulous, creative people, but they don't really appreciate how creative and amazing they are. And I'm so excited because I always learn as much as I inform. I learn a lot, so that's one reason why I get really, really excited at the beginning of a new season.
And Kristen, how's your stuff going?
Very fun, even somewhat lively at late at night for some of us. Though we have two who are across the sea in a different country, so it's their morning, which is always fun too. Um, yeah, I'm getting the same thing as Brian. Is they are connecting very quickly, and the transparency is already there, and the vulnerability is already happening. Um, and so yeah, it always gets there, but this group, it seems like it's there quickly.
Nice.
So that's nice. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's always striking to me from doing this so many times, that sort of feeling that so many members have in the beginning, the sort of insecure, like, am I doing this right? We can say it 100 different ways of like, there's no screwing up as long as you're showing up, right? Like, we had someone who we did our co-working session today, which we do during the first week. So it begins with we talk about some of the content around like strategies for how do we actually capture stuff when we can't finish a task, and to make it easier to resume that task. And so we talked about that. Then we do the 30 minutes of co-working, and then we all reflect on how our work process went. And we had one of our members say, I thought that we were going to be working like just later after a session, and we were just going to be talking about it. And so he was like, he
Mm.
got confused. And I'm like, it is okay. Like, this is a space to, if you're not sure, like, and we talked about that. And he even said that, like, well, I didn't even realize that I was confused. And so we said that the group space is such a powerful sort of mirror to help us gain self-awareness and see things that we weren't even seeing at all. Um, and so I think that's we're already starting to see that, only a few sessions in, which is, I think, pretty awesome.
I, I
Wow.
was I was gonna add, because of what Brian said too, that I've already seen that piece, and that is so cool to be able to be the coach and go, what I just noticed is I've already had two or three people when they did the report after their work time. I went, whoa, wait a minute. You already didn't let it bog you down that you tried to do the thing you intended to come in here and do, and you realized you couldn't for ABC reasons, and you just said, well, I'll just do this instead. That's amazing flexible thinking. And they were like, oh, it is. They didn't even realize that that was such a thing, and so they're discovering strengths already that they're going to get to lean into.
Well, yeah, I'll follow up on that. The power of group coaching is that many of our members report that this is the first time they've ever been in an environment where everyone was neuroatypical, where everyone had some issues and some traits, and it takes a little while to kind of unravel that knot, but people very quickly become comfortable. Like, this is a different environment. I don't have to mask. I don't
Yeah.
have to conceal any of these things. And I encourage, because first of all, I still have ADHD. I still make mistakes. I still forget to mention things. I still forget to start the timer at the right time. And whenever that happens, I stop and I point it out.
Yep.
And I'm like, yep, I'm putting it right out on display, my deficit in working memory right here in display. And people would come up really resonate that and they come along with that. And the power of like not having to put time and energy into that 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 facade where we play it off or we make an excuse or we feel defensive, like just freeing ourselves from having to put energy into that is that's really part of the process. It's really really transformative. And like it's one thing to describe it in words, but it's completely different when you experience it in person.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's funny too. On Monday, so our orientation sessions, which is the end of last week, and then our first session this week, scheduled for 90 minutes. I'm really like my muscle memory for 1 hour long meetings is really strong, and so I ended it like right at the hour. And what was amazing, we actually got through everything without like feeling
That's what I
rushed.
was about to ask. And
How?
Brian's face gave it away too. We were like, what the hell? How did you get through the whole thing?
By looking at all like the tracking data ahead of time instead of like waiting for everyone to check to see if they're on my network. We kind of I front
Oh,
loaded that, which is something I think we should actually do moving forward. Um,
Coaching tip.
but what's so funny is that I have this expression that I've been coming up with, which once is a glitch, twice is a pattern, right? And so this is the second time I've done that. The first time I think it was last year. I was traveling. I was in Minnesota for the first session, and I'm watching my time and like, all right, we're done. And as soon as for this session, as soon as we finished, my admin was like, "Weren't we supposed to be an hour and a half?" And I go, "Oh,
A team check-in call.
we're getting notifications. We got meetings coming up." So yeah, we're not even going to edit that. This is just, I haven't turned notifications off. I haven't done my regular pre-podcasting routine. So I had posted in, because someone asked about it in our group chat on the Mighty Network. And I shared with them, I was like, so 2 reasons that we ended at the hour. The second reason is funnier. First reason is we got through everything. The second reason is because what I kind of just said, I built that muscle memory for the hour, and I went on to explain that once is a glitch, twice is a pattern. So because it's the second time that this has happened, what I did is I put on the notes on our very first slide on day one that this is a 90-minute session, because that's that point
Made
of
a pop.
performance. Yep, I made a pop, point of performance.
mhm. Yeah, actually, speaking of that, the alarm that just went off on my phone was actually a POP reminder I use in my real life. We recently rescheduled the time of this call, so I had not changed my alarms yet. But that's a skill that we teach in our coaching programs, just acknowledging that. And I'm really impressed because I treasure every moment I have with our coaching community. So like I always think it's kind of like a gas; it'll expand to fit the volume of any container that it's in. You give me 90 minutes, I will take 93 minutes probably. But so I really so I'm really impressed that you got it down to 1 hour. But I would that's just me.
And definitely, I think we'll keep it at the 90 minutes because the part of what we're doing is trying to help troubleshoot any tech issues right at the beginning. And people were
Yeah,
pretty
please.
good and set up. Yeah,
Please don't set me up for failure.
we'll keep that 90-minute session. And I'll just maybe communicate it that it could be shorter if we're all set up and ready to rock.
Mm.
So how's everything else going? With getting people on the Mighty Network, because there's so many sort of administrative tasks right in the beginning. And how are you as just coaches, and how are your admin doing?
I think microsection did pretty well. We're pretty much all on there. We had a few people jump on the train at the last moment, just
Yep.
as it was leaving the station, but we're accustomed to that. This is a program for and by ADHD people. We have ADHD, so we fully relate. And sometimes we get folks who have been on the fence and then they say, screw it, I'm going to do it. Or sometimes we get people who say, I just found out about this yesterday, but what the hell? I'm jumping in. So we had a little bit of a time differential, some folks jumping in, but just keeping an eye on the tracking, what you said, but also having really 2 great, strong admins who are admins, by the way, for the folks at home, are our peer mentors. They're alumnus of our programs who have taken the program but have volunteered to come back and right along with the new cohort of our folks, acting as a peer mentor and providing administrative support to the coach. And really having great admin like that are such a really great tool. It's a really great dimension of the program. And my admins are kicking butt so far, doing really, really great.
So my admins are doing great, awesome too. The thing that came to me as you were talking about all of this was, how's it going? We do have one self-professed said I'm a Zoom illiterate in the group, and that we were like, that's okay, we'll get you on. Then we had another one show up a little bit late, and the next time she came, she was like, my daughter's not here to help me. Maybe I'm not as good at this as I think. She did great. The Mighty Network is a platform we use for our online community. And we tend to get people that go, oh, I've just deleted all my social media or that sort of thing. But we need to use it for this program. We need to have a landing spot for all of these different sections and groups in the community as a whole. And so it can be a little tricky to navigate sometimes, though it has really improved. I was really pleasantly surprised when I jumped on there, maybe just week one after we talked about it in the first session. We do this thing where we worry that our chat during our sessions, which we do on Zoom, get off topic. So our staff here has a term that we just, instead of going, oh, y'all, we're getting off topic and you're apprehensive to tell everybody, no, let's get back on this track because that's what we do. We just go, oh, man, I'm rutabaga-ing or rutabaga. It's just our coaches team term that we use to remind ourselves, hey, we're not talking about the thing we need to be talking about. So every season we let the teams, the sections, throw some out there and they vote on them and everything. What was so pleasantly surprising is they jumped into the Mighty Network chat for our section, and
I saw that.
they've all been all over it, just talking away. And I was like, wow, I don't think I've ever seen a group start like that. Maybe
That's
two or
awesome.
three people, but
Oh yeah.
a good number. I mean, almost all of them have jumped in. And
And
so
that's I just have to jump in here. Like I've been noticing this more and more. I've been coaching for a little over a year now, and every group has its own personality.
So
It
it
true.
is
does.
you think you're just gonna it because
I've been doing
the
this for
coaching
10 years, and that is true.
yeah, the coaching program, you think it's, oh, we're just going to go from one. A lot of people come in with an assumption it's going to be similar to a class where it's a one-way dissemination of information from an instructor to a student. But this is a collaborative experience. And like, it is so remarkable how it is different from group to group to group. It is really, really interesting.
And I thought this would also be good to, I'm just trying to watch the time here, also for people who have been kind of listening for the last couple of weeks and kind of following our stuff, to let people know, we nearly filled up. So a couple weeks ago, we were kind of in like, oh shit mode, right? Because we had, I think we were less than 50% in all of the sections. So we're like, how are we going to fill up? So I made this decision we dropped our price a bunch, and which helped lots of people. And so out of 36 spots we had for our 3 sections, we have 35 filled spots. So that was it was definitely a sprint of an effort to get that going. But I'm just really happy that we pulled it off as a team. Being that we don't have a lot of support right now because we did have to pare down our team, unfortunately, with all the administrative help. So I'm kind
What?
of doing
And
a lot of this right now.
Yeah,
I'd
the
like to
hyper.
speak. Oh, yeah, I was gonna say
Please
I'd
go
like to
ahead.
speak to that a little bit in that happens in service companies. Well, and then you see it in like goods companies. Somebody buys a refrigerator 1 month and they come back the next month and it's on sale. Um, and that is just sometimes the nature of, you've got to figure out what the economy is around you and what's happening. And what I am loving about this is probably um been a more affordable opportunity for some people who have been waiting and waiting and waiting because they wanted to join and maybe have been trying to save up for the cost of this. And the quality, it's going to be all the same. I am still in there, yeah, 1,000%. And I love that, that we have opened the door for so many other people who might not have had a chance to do this program, because this program was just kind of a lifesaver for me job wise.
Mm.
And as for that sprint you were just talking about, Eric, I'm going to point out we were effectively leveraging hyperfocus as a tool. We
Yes.
had that engineered urgency, and that got us going. But it's always great when we can use hyperfocus to our advantage, but we don't want to do it all the time.
Right, because it's not sustainable, right? And
Mm-mm.
I was talking with you guys about this before we hit record. But what's been so interesting to me is, like when I started the business, I was regularly doing like 80 to 100-hour work weeks, like insanity. I don't recommend that for anybody, right? And over this last like couple weeks, I've been doing about the 80-hour work week because I don't have an assistant. And a couple other people on our team are no longer on the team, right? And so it's forced me to kind of get my hands back on everything. And I always know that one of my strengths is I'm a lemonade maker, right? I can take lemons and turn them into lemonade. And so as challenging and sort of taxing as some of this has been, there's actually been this sort of fun piece of like, oh yeah, like I actually used to like to create this puzzle um and all those, because there's just so many moving parts to doing an online business, right? And so it's allowing me to kind of get back into the sort of the I don't know, the weeds, but the thick of the setup process, and it's allowing me to sort of think about how we do things and reevaluate, are there simpler ways to do what we are doing? So it's yeah. Am I hoping that the 80-hour work week is a very limited thing? Yes, because that's not sustainable, and I know that's not sustainable. But there's also
Yet you used to think it was. That's where I wanted to ask you was in reflecting upon that. Maybe you haven't had a chance to slow down and reflect upon the differences because I used to do that too. Where I would go and see, I could see 12 clients in some days because
oh
I'd work
man.
into the night. I'd go family visits and I didn't see what the others around me were seeing.
Mm,
It was such a hyper focused type thing to try to get the job done, to try to look more credible and make up for my deficiencies in
mm.
the role that I played at work.
That's
Um,
absolutely I'm
yeah,
sorry. That's absolutely the power of group coaching. And we even use it amongst ourselves, being that second set of eyes that increases our awareness. And what I was really impressed with over the last few weeks is that we were using the principles that we learned at ARC. If the folks at home might not realize this, but Kristen and I both now coach for ADHD Rewired. We started here as coaching members and then eventually grew into coaches. And I was impressed that like, oh, when we got into this situation where we had to really pull it together, I had to have a one-on-one with Eric where I told him, like, Eric, priority number one is taking care of Eric,
Thank you for doing that,
self-care
by the
and
way.
not burning out. Because the one thing, another important concept from our course, the one thing we cannot be successful without in this situation is a healthy, functioning Eric. So that has to be at the top of the priority list, even if it feels counterintuitive. Even if feels like there's a fire burning in the next room, if you are not in a good place to deal with it, it's going to keep burning.
You've been in my mind for the last 2 weeks because of that conversation, Brian. Because I definitely have always had this one more thingitis real bad, and when I don't have like an administrative team to back me up, it's like it's all on me. Well, mostly on me, right? And in the evening as I'm trying to wind down, I'm like, oh, I gotta do this. I gotta do this. I'm like, okay, Brian's gonna kill me if I burn out because I am not.
Mhm.
So
Correct.
I
thank you for that
got
conversation.
I got one last thought on that too, and I'm sitting here contemplating: do I want to share it? I do, not because it's you. It would be anybody. My ADHD brain wants me to be so helpful, and
Hmm.
anybody in need could drag me in a snap. And I have been working so hard on figuring out what are my parameters about what I'm doing because I don't want to
Mhm.
lose myself again into
Mhm.
that kind of place. Um, yeah, because part of it was I was on vacation last week, which gave me a lot of open room to think about it and to say, no, this is important. I can take a few moments and do this thing because it is important right now for art or ADHD rewired and coaching. And might even be about my private practice. I might have had to do something, but I didn't allow it to overtake everything. Whereas in, several years ago, that all I would be doing. Everybody else would be having vacation time in the family. I would
Oh
be
yeah.
working.
Yeah.
So thank you for this challenge almost, everyone out there. I'm glad we got it. We got to put our heads together. We got to work together. We got to, have a little grief together. And that's been quite an experience. It's been an emotional
Yeah.
challenge. And I think we've met the challenge and are embarking on a new group of people to add to our program, our community.
Absolutely. Now, Ford, I just want to riff on what you just said. I consider myself a recovering workaholic and a recovering people pleaser. But the journey to getting those better boundaries, and there was a lot of work that I've been doing on myself. The journey with that started in my original ARC session back in season 22. These are things that came up and I've been working on ever since. I didn't fix those things or actually directly address them in season, but it kind of changed my lens in the way I see those issues. And that's where the process began after the 10 weeks.
It sounds like what you're talking about is the evolution of our relationship that we have with our ADHD, which is one of the things we're going to be talking about next week in group. And we will then
Mm,
reflect on back here at the Coaches Roundtable. So we hope.
excellent segue.
I was kind of proud of that one. So, I always try clever segues, but like they don't always come off, which is fine.
I think you're
That
better
was
at that
good.
than you realize. I do think you're better at that. It's the jokes in your head that you say out loud that don't land.
Well, I just got to say we all get gold stars because we're wrapping it up right here and we stayed within the time frame. So go us.
Woo woo.
Thanks, everybody. Hey, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this format, kind of unedited, and just a couple quick things before I go home. It's 10:20 on Friday night. So I just want to thank everyone who signed up for our spring coaching season. We actually did end up just about filling up. We filled 35 of our 36 spots. So thank you everyone who did sign up. Also, couple quick announcements. And by the way, this is also unscripted. I'm looking at my calendar right now. This coming Tuesday, we have our monthly Patreon call for our $25 a month patrons. And that is at 3 o'clock Central. It's 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern. And you can become a patron at adhdrewired.com/Patreon. Also, this Friday, I am hosting our monthly Pomodoro dance party, and that is at 1 p.m. Central. It's 11 Pacific, 2 Eastern. So you can get signed up for that by going to adultstudyhall.com. We still always have our 1 week free trial, so it's a great time to check it out. So we do about 2 hours of work. The way we break that up, it's 50 minutes of work, then 10 minutes of dance party. And yeah, that is it. Also, I do have a new interest form that I just posted on the website. So if you're thinking about our coaching groups for the summer, now is a great time to get started with that. All right. That's all the time I have for now. We'll catch you next time I release an episode.